Buongiorno from Budapest. Hello, Alfred in Sicily.
Buongiorno from Sicily and going through an American software company. How's that, huh? Budapest to Sicily to the United States. It's just unbelievable, this technology now. It's really
And
good.
everywhere else that they're watching. Well, we've got
Yeah.
a bunch of very serious topics to cover: the drought, Mount Etna, and also any questions you may have. But Alfred, what's the latest? How's Etna behaving?
Today and yesterday, other than an occasional puff, Etna has been behaving very well. Right now, the skies are blue, the boats are out. There's no ash clouds hovering, no cancellations. But every once in a while, it blows a little bit of smoke. No lava, no eruptions. So these are the
And no
that was
earthquake.
predicted. No earthquakes. This is what was predicted, by the way, that the intensity was going to be going down. And today, actually, it's coming from what is that thing called? Voltarium crater, the new
Vulcana,
crater that,
the new
yeah, the
crater.
new one on the northeast portion, kind of like behind us. So hopefully that ash cloud, when it does erupt and when it does, goes into the sea. So basically, today it's good. It's humid,
Good
but it's
thing.
good. Yeah.
So let's address another issue that we've received lots of emails, lots of messages, lots of reports have been done about the drought issue here or there in Sicily. And I just want to lay out a couple of things about the drought. First of all, yes, there's a drought. It hasn't rained in months. Yes, there are some areas, not all areas, where the farmers and also citizens are having to ration, and also, water is not arriving. There's many reasons why this is happening besides the fact that it hasn't rained. First of all, the pipes are very old, and there's a lot of seepage of water in the pipes, and that's been documented and people have talked about it. So that's an infrastructure issue, of course. But I want to address something that people have been sort of scaring everyone to, saying that tourists are being turned away, that B&Bs are canceling, hotels are canceling. I have talked to many of my guides, my local guides, who say that is not the case. There is an issue, but the people are handling it. The hotels and so forth are handling it. And the president of Sicily, uh, Shibari, came out with a very important statement today, saying that the words of the tour operators are the most effective and objective, uh, together with the data on arrivals uh, at the island's airport and at the really marked the record. And he says that this is important. The recent instrumental and alarmist press campaigns, both internationally and nationally, that depict tourists fleeing Sicily due to water emergency is just not true. Sicily is safe to come. And he goes on saying, yes, we are having a drought. So, and Alfred, you've read the papers, you talk to people. There is money being allocated to address this, late as it always is, but there is some money being allocated. And the other day we were out, Alfred, and I saw one of those tanks that was going to somewhere. Remember that? Providing water. It is a problem. Is it being addressed? Way too late. They're starting, but that's the how I want to start it out.
You know, Esther, every single solitary major hotel or a place where visitors come, on the roof of those hotels, they have these enormous plastic water containers precisely for this reason. And on regular deliveries, they have water companies who refill it. Okay. It happens all the time. Okay. Now, on this side of the island, the East Coast, and I'll talk about the area roughly from a little south of Catania all the way up to Messina, is in good condition. Why is it in good condition? Because thankfully for Mount Etna, as Mount Etna takes, it also gives. We have the Alcantrana Gorge, the Alcantrana River, in Giardini Naxos that feeds 6 or 7 tributaries. As a matter of fact, our friend, your pal over there, Mr. Webb Sawhorse, or whatever he calls himself on, what's his name? Your
Silvio, the
Yeah,
web horse.
Silvio says that he read that 50% of all the water from the Alcantrana River goes into the Ionian Sea. So there's plenty of water to be captured. Now, what areas are suffering or have a quote unquote drought? If you look at the map, dead center, the province of Enna, a little bit south, the province of Caltanissetta, and then the top portion of Agrigento. However, okay, hotels there have water. Okay, it's not that they don't have water. The reports of the demise of Sicily are vastly premature. Okay, I mean, I have seen the most horrendous news stories in the United States national media. Okay, I've seen memes. Is that what those things are called? That are photoshopped. I saw one just yesterday of Mount Etna in a terrible eruption, close up picture, and then it was right next to a highway where people were screaming. That doesn't happen. Okay. I was kind of enraged when I saw that, Esther. I don't know. You must get a little bit annoyed too because it's not the truth. Okay. It just isn't the truth. That's my
Alfred,
view.
and we addressed a lot of this when we interviewed Professor Rosario Parachi, where he explained, and we keep explaining, that the eruptions are happening at 3,000 meters up there, and you're right, they're very deceiving pictures, and also the drought, and I don't want to name out the outlets that have caused this fear mongering, but I read those, Alfred, and I just shake my hand and I'm saying, why are people writing this nonsense? Do we have a drought? Yes, we have a drought. Are farmers suffering? Yes, they are farmers who are suffering. I talked to our farmers. They've had to ration some of the water, even in our area, much more, as you mentioned, Agrigento and Caltanissetta in that area. But there are things that are happening. I saw in Agrigento, there's a river that the Socia River, I think they were trying to gather water and purify it and send it out to people. Now, are people lining up to get water in wells to make sure that they're having it in the house? Yes, they are. It is a problem, and no one's saying it's not. But to have all this, I don't want to say fake news, but overblown news is outrageous. I agree with you.
Well, here's what I do know. The national government realizes that you have to understand that Sicily is the linchpin, so to speak, of the Mezzogiorno, the area from Rome south. Okay, it's the economic linchpin. All right, and the national government realizes this. And just 2 days ago, Salvini, the minister of the Interior, made an announcement that they're hurrying up with that 90 million euro that Professor Faraci was talking about, and it's already getting here to refurbish at least three uh, 1960s eras desalinization plants in the Agrigento area. And there are other
Yes,
things that do. I was going to say something else to you, okay? If you just juxtapose Sicily and the Sicilian people versus the United States of America and Americans, here's the biggest difference, okay? Even if there wasn't a drought, even if they had water all over the place, water cost a lot of money here in Sicily to begin with. That's why you do not have lush lawns. You have cactus trees planted. You have all those things that look like cactus trees planted, okay, in gardens and in stuff like that. Whereas I mean, obviously, let me just, qualify that. There obviously are places that have lawns, but really not so much privately owned places. Places like wedding venues or places like a golf course, for example, or places like that would obviously have, manicured lawns. So the average Sicilian, fearful of high water bills, has been naturally conserving water for many, 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 many decades. So it's, we look at it, we're like, okay, there's a what drought, please rain, and that's it. Okay. And the same thing with the food situation, Esther. I mean, the food is plentiful here. I mean, I just went yesterday to Eurospin. Eurospin, my favorite grocery store. That grocery vegetable department was overflowing with fruits and vegetables from all over Italy because now in the north, things like grapes, strawberries, blueberries, all sorts of green stuff are being melons are being harvested, and it's all over the place here. Okay, so it's really not a big of an issue as the media has painted it to be, because the media loves to do this stuff, right?
Period.
If
End
it's
of
not the
sentence.
mafia, it's an earthquake. If it's not an earthquake, it's a drought. If it's not a
Etna.
drought, it's COVID. It's something. It's the migrants. It's all. You never hear about the abject beauty of this place. You know what we sell? You and I and anybody in the business of showing people Sicily, we sell people or we give to people lifetime emotions and lifetime memories. So when someone
Mhm.
comes here from the United States for the first time, you think they're looking at what do you think they're looking at? A brown grass area, or are they looking at a beautiful site, a beautiful whatever, whether it's Taormina, Caltanissetta, no matter where it is, there's beauty. Sheffield, any place, right? So it's a different thing. I know this every time you and I go to the airport to meet folks, we see first time travelers burst into tears, burst into
Mhm.
tears when they're here in Sicily. That's emotional. That's an emotional attachment. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say about that.
We can't deny, though, that there are farmers who are suffering. There are places where the water is being rationed, and I want to make sure that our audience does understand that that is happening, not all over the island, in some areas. And I want to say, too, that we have some people here watching us with us live, and many of them are here in Sicily, including Jennifer Chianza and
Hi,
Paul,
Jennifer.
who's a
How are you?
Jennifer is in Modica, and she
The
said she
Monica
has a
area.
well, but they conserve the water, and that's really
That's a
key.
smart
I
thing
mean,
to do.
we should all be very mindful of that. We should all be
Right.
very mindful of not only that, excuse me, but electricity. Or we've seen through the past couple of years that resources we really have to conserve and be mindful of the resources much more than anything else. But I do want to say one more thing, that if you look at historically Sicily, yes, the drought has increased, but there always has been. I remember we would always have this conversation. If there's a drought, we have, concern about fires along with that. And so those are issues that have existed here through the millennia. My biggest thing, aside from you pointing out about, of course, about the press, the falsified, the overly, you know, overly uh, over the top press accounts, is that the government of Sicily, of Italy, have known about this. They know about this. They know that the pipes are old. They know that there's seepage, including all over Sicily, water seeping, so not enough water arrives. This is an ongoing problem, and shame to the government that they have not addressed this sooner. When an emergency happens, then whenever everyone is scurrying to put a band-aid on it, fix the damn problem. Period. Fix it.
Let me talk to you. Let me just give you another point of view, okay, about the farmers suffering. All right. Well, you can point the finger at the local and national government of Italy. I agree with you, but you also need to point it out to the European Union as well, because the European Union is controlling the import and export of fruit and vegetable products. Let me give you a quick example, okay? In an effort to stop migration from North Africa, they've entered into very favorable trade agreements with several nations over the importation of tomatoes, okay? Where they take the tomatoes from North Africa and they are being purchased for €1 a kilo, okay, from the North Africans. The Sicilians cannot grow a kilo of tomatoes for €1. So as a result, in the southeastern portion of Sicily, Pacchino especially, which has the most delicious cherry tomatoes in all of Europe, comma, farmers are taking their tomatoes and putting them in the garbage and not selling them because it takes them €2 to grow a kilo of tomatoes. Okay, here it is. The EU is letting African countries coming in for that. Now, in yesterday's paper, the European Union, those guys are whack jobs up in Brussels, in my view. Okay, just they, they they issued a warning to Italy and Spain about the production of olive oil. They're about ready to put olive oil from Europe on a hazardous substance list. Can you imagine that?
What?
Olive oil, because
Why?
of the way when it's being harvested, what the big industrial places do is they prune the trees at the same time, okay? And they use electric saws, obviously, because there's so many trees. Well, they found out that the oil that goes into the electric saws potentially could have a carcinogen in it that
Ugh.
may stick to the skin, and when it gets pressed, go into a bottle. Okay, so if they did that, if they put olive oil, you can on any type of a list. Okay, you can expect all hell to break loose in Italy and Spain and Greece. I'm telling you right now.
Ridiculous.
And
Ridiculous.
yeah, and the other thing, E, is you have to remember how many years are we removed from COVID? 3 years it's been now from COVID, when everything got shut down. Italy was on its
Four.
knees. We were on its
Yeah.
knees. The government was broke. They wouldn't have been able to send a gallon of water over here if they really wanted to. Now that the EU is back in action, money has been flowing into Italy. So there's a lot of political things that are underpinning this whole issue of the drought. But really, what we
I
need
want to
is Rosario and I both concur in you. We need 2 desalinization plants. It'll solve the problem.
I want to just
Simple.
bring this up. Rose made a beautiful point. When I was in Sicily in the 70s, my father-in-law used to wake up early in the morning, early, and save water in every bucket they had to fill and save. I was so happy to come home after that. Let me just say a couple, let me just pull up another. Hello, Esther and Alfred, you both look great. What's the drought situation where you are? My mom tells me that things haven't changed much since the 50s. She used to live in Avalon, but we did address a lot of these issues at the beginning of the show. So once you we finish here, scroll through the beginning, but in our area, as Alfred and I both said, there isn't much of a problem, but there are some problems that Agrigento, Caltanissetta, and the heart, the center of the belly, excuse me, of Sicily are
Yeah,
facing.
I
I just
agree with you.
wondered, by the way, if you guys have any questions for us, we'll be here for a little bit. So anything you guys want to ask us, we're happy to answer. I know, Alfred, we did get a question about beaches earlier.
Yeah,
Did
somebody is
someone ask?
coming. Yeah, one of my Facebook friends is coming to Sicily next week, and she's going to be coming to our coast, the East Coast, and she wanted to know what our view is on some of the better beaches. Now, since you're the beach bunny and you're the one that goes swimming all the time, I think I'm going to let you answer that
Well,
question
we've
as to
done
which
so
beach.
many videos about the beaches, on the West Coast. There's some Piccolo Capo and some of them outside of Palermo. Over on our side, in the East Coast, there's all the beautiful beaches from Syracuse down are very sandy, San Lorenzo, Fontana Bianca, of course, but depends on what type of beach you want to visit. There's certainly plenty of them. Let me just wait a sec. There's one, Paul. I'm going to bring this up because Paul over there in Castellamare del Golfo, says, I've helped my friends harvest their olives and I've never seen any oil plumes or anything yet near the olives. Let me just tell you guys that we also have done many videos and have seen, uh, done step by step of olive oil production, and we've never seen anything like that. So who knows?
They're
Who knows?
dreamers. The European Union had they want to they just want to, I don't know what they're trying to do, those people. They ought to get a job is what they ought to do.
Let me just say something about the European Union money a little bit, because
Yeah.
going around Sicily while touring in April, May, June, July, I was struck at how much construction is going on all over the place. But you may think, oh, it's construction to fix existing roads that are broken and that are cracked everywhere. Oh, maybe to create new roads that would help us get to, for instance, Ragusa faster than going zigzagging to get there. No, the type of roads, the type of construction, some of them are geared towards bikers. There's a biker lane that's being constructed from when you leave the Duomo in Catania and you go towards that airport. That stretch that usually took us 10, 15 minutes after 9 p.m., 9 a.m. to about 8, 9 p.m., it takes now half an hour because they're creating a bike lane. And the rule is if you don't build it, they got the money. If you don't build it within a certain amount of time, that money will be lost. So I see also things like that. Now I'm not saying anything about bikers. All I'm saying is a much needed lane to go from the historic section of Catania to the airport is now being used. It just makes me shake my head and go, who put these people in charge? Alfred, who put these people in charge?
Hey, Esther, could I make an
Oh,
announcement?
wait, Tony, yes,
Could I make an announcement?
yes.
Okay. So, as Esther knows, she's been booking for me quite a few consultations with people who are interested in purchasing or renting property in Sicily. And Massimo and I do quite a bit of work with this, okay, whether we're doing purchases or whether we're doing long-term leases all over Italy and all over Sicily. Talking to Massimo this week, he and I had a meeting. That's my Italian law partner for 2 decades. He said to me that he enjoys that type of work because it's very less stressful for him than having to go into a court. And one of these days, I'm going to do a program on going to court in Italy, in Sicily especially, okay? It's a very stressful experience. So if anybody is thinking of renting or buying a villa, um, just wanted people to know that Massimo and I are going to expand that portion of our law practice a little bit. And if you're interested in that, if you're thinking about it, we have relationships with realtors now all over Italy and Sicily. And we have relationships with building inspectors called geometers and notarios and so forth. We have like a whole team. So if you're interested in that, send Esther an email and we have a consultation. We could have a consultation, a screening consultation with me, which is fee based. Because usually what happens is when I make an announcement, there's 150 people who are searching for free information. But my time isn't free. okay? Because we're lawyers and we're not people on Facebook or internet giving away stuff for nothing. So if you want competent representation in Sicily, because remember, no matter what you know about in the United States of America, moving to Italy or moving to Sicily is a foreign country. You're in a foreign country and you're going to need help all the way through, from getting an electric company to come in, to getting the phone company to come in, to getting the gas company to come in, to getting the residence cards, to opening up a bank account. There's a million things that have to be done. So if anybody is contemplating that, give Esther a buzz and hook up a consultation uh, for you. And I kind of like will do the intake, have a discussion with Massimo, and then I'll point you in the right direction or tell you how much it's going to cost you. I mean, basically, we're going to do that. I'm not doing it during touring season, because during touring season, I am trying to back up Esther, who basically is on 100 miles an hour with the touring
So
system. So she needs
this
she
is the
needs some
type of,
help.
this
Go ahead.
this is the type of conversation. I love this, Annette. I have an announcement too, Alan. I found out last week that I'm, in fact, eligible for dual citizenship by descent from my grandfather. I'm so excited to get the ball rolling. Love to hear that. Uh,
Yeah, we do
let's
that as
see.
well, obviously.
Yeah, Alfred and his law partner do that as well. Alfred, I have to tell
Yeah.
you, it's been absolutely fantastic visiting my birth city, Budapest. Um, the city is always, takes my breath away. I call Budapest, Sicily, well, Hungary, Sicily, and I'm going to say Boston. So really, it's Boston, Budapest, and Sicily, my home. But I'm so grateful to have this opportunity and you carrying on all the houseworks and keeping down the fort.
Well,
I do have to say
you
I'm
know,
having a great time with my mom and sisters, and we just before this show, I just came from a luncheon with my mom's best friend of 62 years. These two women have been, and they're sitting around and chit chatting and and not arguing, but like having a little bit of back and forth, like a true Hungarian spirited woman that they are. So it's wonderful to experience. So those of you guys who are joining us now, I am in Budapest for another week, and Alfred is in Sicily, and soon he'll be going to the United States. Next broadcast that we'll have, not sure exactly what we're going to do, but at that point, Alfred will be there, and I'll be coming home to Sicily.
well, I mean, let me tell you why I'm going home. One of the reasons I'm going home is to celebrate the fact that my daughter Jennifer, she's my oldest. She's 48 years old or 49, I can't remember. She has two children. Uh, my granddaughter Rose, who's going off to the University of Glasgow, is a freshman, and my grandson, who's a sophomore at up in Maine at a private school. They are picking up their Italian passports on the 6th of August. So that's another three family members of mine who are now dual citizens, joining my daughter Katie.
That's
Now the
awesome.
last one, yeah, the last one is my son Matthew and his two kids, and his process is underway as well. So for me, it's a very emotionally satisfying thing, but it's also, I think about my grandfather's plural, which would be my daughter's great grandfather, and my grandkids, their great grandfather, who emigrated to the United States early part of the 20th century, worked their butts off in the sweatshops of the city of Lawrence, piecemeal workers, okay? And to see their progeny, so to speak, over
Mm.
100 years later, return to the motherland, excuse me, the fatherland, to come here, is heartwarming for me. And my daughter Jennifer, who has been here a bunch of times, she's like off over the top excited about having her kids become an Italian citizen. So it's a heartwarming experience. It's emotionally satisfying for
Yeah.
me. Esther is already an EU. For you folks wondering about Esther, she was born in Budapest. She's
So
been a
that's
member of
why I
the,
have a dual
yeah,
citizenship. That's why I'm able.
right,
Now, people have asked me this question before, Alfred. So, I do have two passports, a Hungarian and an American, but I am a resident of Italy. So I'm an actual resident of Italy. I have an
right,
official place where I live. I have a health card and so forth. And so, but
right.
that's a very long and arduous process. I know a bunch of people who are here right now, including Jennifer and Jennifer Kirianza, which we will address this in just a second, um, have gone through this process, and it's a little bit arduous. Let me just address this that I don't know if you guys know. So we have our Union Sicily travel and video business, but we also have a nonprofit. And Jennifer happens to be one of our most gracious and generous supporters and contributors. And we do have some great news. And
She's
what
a
our
director as
nonprofit
well.
does, he's a
Jen's a
director as well.
director.
We have
Yeah.
James here as well. He's also a director. Alfred is the founder over 10 years ago, probably now 12 years
Yeah, over
ago,
12 years, right.
founded the Sicilian Project, and the hope was the real purpose of and mission is to educate Sicilian children English free of charge to them, thanks to our donors in the United States, Canada, and other places. And we've been incredibly successful. Uh, our success and the ability to offer these classes have gone up, up, up. Uh, Extremely well in the past few years. And the other thing that we're able to provide now is, for instance, we work in a parish in Catena. They have a youth center. They didn't have a sort of snack bar. We helped build the snack bar. They didn't have a place for the kids to play soccer because it was all just uh, filled
Overgrown.
with overgrown and not cleaned up. We managed to clean that. So those little things. During COVID, we gave a number of parishes across Sicily, so not just our section, a lot of money. So that's our nonprofit, www.sicilianproject.com. And the big news is that starting in November and January, over by us and also in Canicattì in the province of Agrigento, we are going to start help train professionals English, even adults English. But these are professionals who work at hotels, at restaurants, at some places. Anyone really who's interested in bettering their English.
Well, the biggest news is I can't even announce it, but I will give you a little hint. Uh, Expect to see something, a collaboration between the Sicilian Project and an entity. I'll use an entity from the University of Catania professor um, Rosario Faraci in the future. We're going to be doing things with him and some university students that is going to be, I'm really looking forward to that. We're past the stage now. The Sicilian Project is past the stage of being a nascent nonprofit. We're now a mature nonprofit, and you'll be surprised how many emails and phone calls I get on a weekly basis from Sicilian folks who've heard about us and
Mm-hmm.
want help for their communities. Okay, it's amazing that we have we have influenced so many people. Let's remember that there's less than 5 million people in Sicily. That's not even, if you put them all into one city in the United States, I mean, even, that would be like not even a huge city, but it's spread among 235 little cities and towns. That means 235 mayors and 235 town councils. And in order to do anything, you have to get permission from people to operate in their communities. We just can't go in and set up shop. I mean, it's a tedious process to do it, but we found Stefania. Esther found Stefania. Let me just be a little bit more clear about that. Who uh, graduate of University of Catania, who is now my right hand. She's the assistant to me. She's also a director, but she has done, once we brought her on, it's almost like we went to another level because the woman, she writes professional Italian. I don't. Uh, she's a great teacher. She's a certified teacher. And these are the types of people that, as this organization gets older, we want to attract more of. Now, do me a
Yeah,
favor, okay? Don't send me an email saying, "Oh, I'm a retired teacher. I want to come over and volunteer." Okay, don't do that because not only do you want to come over and volunteer, but I think every retiree from the National Education Association would like to come over and volunteer. If you want to come over here, you have to pay your own way, number one, and your own expenses, and get a couple of sponsors to help out for classes. We'll put classes any place. If you want to get actively involved, like Jennifer did, okay? I met up with Jennifer, what, 6 months ago? Jen Carenza. She's now a valuable member of our director board. I mean, she pushes things, and I suspect that within a short order, we'll be having things going on in the Modica area, which we've been dying to get
for
into.
sure.
So, Jen, get to work. I know you just moved in a few months
Yes,
ago, but I'd like to see
give her a little
see
time to
something down
settle.
there.
Although I see that she's already made friends with all the cafes, with all the pizza places, always
Yeah,
pictured with a local there. So that's very
there's a
nice to
whole
see
area she
because
could be a
it
regional
isn't a
director
very
of.
easy. Yeah.
She could expand not only
Listen,
Modica, the Jella, the whole area over there. We'd love to do that. That's what we need. We need
I love
points
that
of light. Jennifer's a point of light. We need more points of light.
Paul says, isn't technology wonderful? I think it's so cool to be on this thing called YouTube and be able to chat in real time with friends all over the world. I love it, and I love this community that we have created for sure. Now, Nick, going back to the citizenship, this is an issue that we've seen and heard all over the United States. I have a friend, I've been told by a friend wanting to get his dual citizenship that getting an appointment at the Italian consulate in Boston is years out. Everywhere it's years out. Let me tell you.
Well, you know why? Do you know why?
Everyone, first of all, everyone's trying to become an Italian citizen or a citizen of
Well,
another country.
here's the thing about 50% of the calls I get, okay? And the first thing I say to somebody is, hey, listen, do you know that if you want to become, if an Italian citizen wants to become an American citizen, by the time he finishes with all the costs associated with American citizen, he's probably spent between $20,000 and $25,000. Okay, how much are you? How much are you prepared to spend to become an Italian citizen or a member of the European Union? By the way, 10,000. I think to me, 10,000 would be a cheap price to pay versus 25,000 the other way. It's a tedious process, but why is it a tedious process? Well, go back to the Second World War when the fascists fell, Mussolini's group fell, and all the fascists, they woke up as fascists, they went to bed as fascists, and then they threw their uniforms on and they exiled themselves to places like Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Central America, hundreds of thousands of them. And they stayed there their whole life, and they married and they have kids. And then all of a sudden, back in 92, Italy says, no, we'll take you if it's by blood, if you can prove by blood. Meanwhile, South America was crumbling economically. Okay. All the South Americans and Central Americans look to Europe as kind of like nirvana, free medical, social benefits that through the roof, etc. And within short order, the consuls, the American consulates, were overrun with requests. Now, the consular officials over there, they're union, all right? There's nothing wrong with being in a union because everybody practically in Italy in all professional capacities are in union. But when the money went away, so did the replacement help. So as people retired in the consuls all over the world, they, those positions were not filled, okay? That comes under the whole issue of migration. Okay, when someone wants to come here, the subheading would be migration, which is precisely the same heading that the boat people who have been inundating Italy for 15 years comes under. So now a center right government is in place. And they came on the, I guess you could say, one of their battle cries was, we're going to stop this stuff of people bleeding us dry. So the whole issue of dual citizenship has been um, caught up in this web, not because they don't want us there, but because of the migration issue in general. And one last thing, let me say about this: the United States. Don't get me started about these Italian organizations in the United States, because these guys collectively, these men and women that are in these groups, as far as I'm concerned, most of them are sash wearing, cannoli eating, do nothing, who get a free ride to come to something over here, and they go back home and they do stuff in the United States, not in Italy or Sicily. Okay, what did they do during COVID? All these groups, nothing. So as a result, the Italians said, "Hey, we're gonna." There were a few senators that used to be on the parliament. So what did the Italian government do? They says, "Now you guys don't need any. You guys don't need any senators in representation." So there's no representation. There's nobody pushing the Ministry of the Interior for dual citizenship folks. Okay, what we really need is a couple of people who can write a couple of big fat checks and get people into the parliament, not as parliamentarians, but putting on pressure. What are those people called, Esther? Those groups that they have in Boston in the Congress, that they go visit the senator. Lobbyists. We have no lobbyists. Zero. So that is like issue number one. Go ahead.
Now, let me
Sorry, I
let me
bloviated.
give you a, let me just give a little bit of a counter.
Wait a minute. Your audio's.
Say, can you hear me? Let me just say a little counter to what you just said. Can you hear me now?
Now I could. Yeah. Now I can't.
Those in, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of those organizations, I think, especially our friends Jack Allen's work of the Cultural Association over there, Louisiana, I think, or wherever he is, they do an important job keeping the Italian culture, the Sicilian culture, the traditions alive with their festivals, with their monthly events. I think they do serve a very important role, Albert, and they do lobby in the United
In the
States. I see
United
your point.
States.
Please, excuse me.
In the United. Look at Alfio Tropia, Esther. The guy's a saint.
Right,
Okay, with
right.
things in
Well,
Galveston that he does. However, okay, the big organizations, the big ones, like the Sons of Italy, for example, they don't do
they
anything to other than promoting it in Italy, in the United States. They do nothing
and
to
yeah,
help out here. That's my
I agree
gripe.
with you. I
That's my
agree with
gripe.
you. And there should, I agree with you, but that is not their mission. Their mission is very clear. It's to promote the Italian culture in the United States, which, in my opinion, keep doing what you're doing. You're good at what you're doing. You're spreading the word. You're keeping the Italian, Sicilian culture alive in the United States. Keep doing that. And there's people like us, like others who are doing things here in Italy. We can't all be doing the same thing. Keep doing what you're good
That
at.
I
That's my
agree.
opinion.
But
Now,
can I give you
could
one
they
more
do
example,
more?
E?
Wait, no, let me finish. Could they
Sure.
be doing more? People always could be doing more. Okay. And we're not going to mention names, but they are also doing a very important service to the community by coming over
In
here
the
and
United
and
States.
bringing the Italian culture over to the United States. Now, there is a group, and I'm not going to mention the group, that played a very prominent role in coming here to Italy, and met with members of the Senate, the members of the chambers, met with the president, and started this a program which is very important, which helps promote Americans, Canadians, and others who want to come back and visit their roots. It is a program that's ongoing. People can get, for example, I haven't looked up into the program, getting grants for Americans or Canadians or whoever living in Sicily and Italy that help promote returning to ancestral home. And those guys, those associations were the ones that made this program possible. Do you know about this program, Al?
Here's what I know, Esther. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. But if an Italian wants to get a work visa in the United States, it's almost impossible. It's very tightly regulated how many visas can be issued to Italy from the United States. Okay. So my view is that's where the pressure ought to be made in. You've got some of the most brilliant mathematicians, scientists, engineers, artists, cultural people, college graduates who would love to come to the United States and become a mini Rosario Faraci. Because almost every Italian who leaves and goes to the EU, they end up coming back to Italy. Okay, we need that. We need that push from U.S. based organizations to insist that we get as many people who want to get visas to come into the United States for those purposes as other groups. Right now, they come for 3 months on a tourist visa and then afterwards out. Okay, or I mean, not to be political about it, but I always tell them, well, get in a boat and row into the country and get, become a migrant over there in the southern border.
Oh my
And then you
God.
can get everything. But
Basta,
no, I'm serious. I mean,
basta, basta,
that's not a nice thing to say. I agree. But, it's a
basta.
political problem in the United States about Italians. And one day I'm going to talk about, because I like to stir the pot, you know
And
that.
we
I
have
want to
talked,
talk about
and we have,
I want to talk about the bias that my grandparents and generations before us experienced in the United States.
of course,
And we're seeing it today.
Italians,
When,
and
yeah, we're
so and
seeing it today when,
other immigrants as well. Other immigrants.
right.
Can I
Yeah,
just remind you, Alfred? Can I just remind you what one of the kids, my very first week in public schools in the United States of America, when I was 13 years old, said to me in the playground, knowing that I'm Hungarian, go back to your communist country. This type of bias has existed forever. We can talk about
right.
it ad nauseum, but we only have a few minutes left. So
Okay, but I
let's
think
just
that'll be the
talk
subject for
about
a
a
future
good
thing. I mean,
other
that's something
for
you can
sure,
clomp your teeth into, my opinion.
for sure.
And
And
Esther,
by
let
the
me
way,
tell you
we
something.
have
If there was more people
wait a
like
second.
Esther Vida in Hungary, I would let them all into the United States, every one of them. Okay,
So
if they all were like
Alfred,
you,
basta, basta. All right, we have a few
oh,
minutes left.
Bunster.
You guys, if you have any questions, by the way, this issue of bias is not a new one on this channel, Al. We've discussed it ad nauseum already. We got to come up with some other good ideas. So I'm counting on our audience here to give us a couple of more ideas. We'll be here for another 2 or 3 minutes because I got to go back to my family who are over there without me uh, hanging out. Anyway, I don't want to talk any more politics until the end of this broadcast. Thank you very much.
Listen,
Are you all
last
packed?
thing. Do we have any tours coming up? Why don't you try to promote a tour or two? How about the October tour? That's a good one to talk
We
about.
do have our
Ah,
October tour. We still have spots in our Tuscany tour. And that's it. And then the next one is February for Carnivale. That's the next one. And of course, we have little private tours. And I already know Gary Arivella is here, and he's excited to see you. for your regular breakfast. So that's good. What else? I think this
What do
was a
you
pretty
what
good
kind of food
live process.
do you
Oh,
eat
by the
Italian
way,
food in do they have Italian food
oh,
in
you want to hear about that? Let me talk to you about that. On the
yeah, I'd
street
like to
we're
hear
on,
about it.
just and we're in the heart of the pet side because there's Buddha and pets. There's a Syrian, a Vietnamese, a uh, a Chinese, an Irish pub, two Italian restaurants, two
Oh,
on our street, just on our street. I mean, there's Italian restaurants everywhere. Uh, so it's
oh
Budapest is a
wow.
very much of an international vibe. Oh, there's a Turkish restaurant too. So what kind of food have I been eating? Hungarian. Oh wait, I did have Chinese last night.
Last question I need to ask you, okay, about Hungary, please. In your opinion, how is the Hungarian wine compared to the wine that you
Ooh,
sample over here? Wine, vino.
ooh, it's
Is
different,
it
Al.
good?
It's completely different. It's different.
It tastes
Although
different?
I have been drinking. It's called Olos Riesling, and it's an Italian Riesling. That doesn't mean it was made in Italy, but the style that they use is like a Riesling. The way they make it is an Italian style.
What
Anyway,
color
Hungary
is
and
it? White or
Italy has
red?
always been. It's white. You know, my favorite is
Well,
white.
no,
You
I'm
know
just
that.
asking.
That's
I'm
what I
just
like to
asking.
drink.
Yeah. Is it German
We've been
influence? Is
drinking
there those Germans?
champagne. There is one
Champagne.
wine
That's
that's
French.
very, yeah, champagne
Oh.
is very good. No, 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 no. We've been drinking Russian champagne.
Ah. And what about desserts? What about like, canolas? They have canolas there?
There is a shop that has canolas, but Hungarians,
Seriously?
believe it or not, are also known for their sweets. The Hungarian
Ah.
pastries, very much, some of the pastries that we have in Sicily are very much influenced by when the Austrians were in Sicily, and it's just as beautifully decorated, very, very colorful sweets, all types of cakes, of biscuits. Hungarians are also known for their sweets, so uh, not just goulash or fish soup,
Well,
all
that's
types
a good
of
little.
stuff
So,
like that.
based on this intelligence that you're giving me right now, I will make one last announcement today. I am going to
Wait a sec.
Budapest in
What?
December. I'm going to go to Budapest in December for the Christmas market, and you and I will stay at the
How many times
Marriott there.
have you
Just
been saying that,
no, this
Zappala?
year, this is it for me, baby. Now that I know that you have decent food, here it is. I'm thinking I'm going to eat cabbage all day long and pickles. I mean, honestly, so I'm
Listen,
going.
Travis says, still waiting for the You, Me, and Budapest tour announcement. I know Carolyn is too. Let me just see here.
I
Uh,
love Karen. I love
Carolyn,
her.
Carolyn wants to marry a Sicilian so she can get her citizenship. I love it.
Don't say that too loud. They'll come out of the
Hey,
woodwork.
Vince is an American citizen born in, I mean, American citizen born in Sicily. Let me see here. Uh, Salvatore, I'm gonna send you your email, my email, that you can email to set up an appointment with Attorney Zappala. Uh, and then what else? Wait a sec. I can't see Alfred. Alfred.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't wait to bring you here, especially for the Christmas market, because there's so many great street foods and so forth. It really
What
is
about the
a
salami?
great vibe here.
What about the
Oh, I gotta get
salami?
you some Hungarian salami. I haven't forgotten. And palinka, which
And
is a
panika too.
really
That's
good
the
drink.
brandy, the Hungarian brandy. It's just kick ass in the
The
in the
Hungarian
in the
brandy.
winter time. Are you kidding me?
Anyway,
It's freaking awesome.
guess what we're doing tonight?
You
We're
going out to
meeting
eat?
with one of our good friends and we're going to go to a Mexican place. Not to eat. We already had a
Oh
big lunch.
wow.
Not to eat. No, Hungary really has so many
Not you're not going to
international
like Jack in the
restaurants.
Box, right? You're going to a
No, it's
restaurant.
like a high end. Mexican place, and we're gonna have some drinks there with our good friend. And that's it. That's it.
Sounds like a plan to me, kiddo. Enjoy yourself because
Okay,
when you come
last
back here, you're
thing.
going to be
Carolyn,
busy.
I really I needed a good laugh, Carolyn. Thank you. Do you have eHarmony in Sicily? No, but there are some good dating sites, let me tell you. All right, on that note, thanks guys for being here. We appreciate it.
That was
We
fun
may
today.
be live next week. We may be live, we may not. It's always going to be a surprise, but all I know is 4 p.m. Sicily time. We'll be right here on that channel, that too.
I'll be there. Don't worry about it, kiddo. Love you. I won't see you for another 22 days, huh?
What 22 days? Love you guys. Thank you for your support and thank you for being here.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
Sabenediga.